Earl Simmons, December 18, 1970 to April 9, 2021, known professionally as DMX, was an American rapper, songwriter, and actor. His accolades included an American Music Award, a Billboard Music Award, and 6 Grammy Award nominations. Regarded as an influential figure in the late 1990s and early 2000s and one of the greats of hip-hop, his music is characterized by his aggressive, rapping style, with lyrical content varying from hardcore themes to prayers. His violent lyricism helped popularize the horrorcore genre. DMX began rapping in the late 1990s. After an unsuccessful tenure on Columbia Records, he signed with Ruff Ryders Entertainment in a joint venture with Def Jam Recordings to release his debut studio album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot, 1998, which was met with critical and commercial success, selling 251,000 copies in its first week and spawning the Billboard Hot 100 Top 20 single, Ruff Ryders Anthem. His second album, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, 1998, was followed by his third. And then there was X, 1999, which became his best-selling release and was supported by his second top 40 single, Party Up, Up in Here. His fourth album, The Great Depression, 2001, was followed by his fifth, Grand Champ, 2003, which was led by the single, Where the Hood At, and included the international bonus track, X Gone, Give It to Ya. DMX became the first artist to have their first 5 albums consecutively debut atop the Billboard 200, and by his death on April 9, 2021, he had sold over 75 million records worldwide. DMX acted in commercially successful films such as Belly, 1998, alongside rapper Nas, Romeo Must Die, 2000, and Cradle to the Grave, 2003, alongside Jet Li, and Exit Wounds, 2001, alongside Steven Seagal. In 2006, he starred in the reality television series DMX, Soul of a Man, which was primarily aired on the BET cable television network. In 2003, he published a book of his memoirs titled EARL, The Autobiography of DMX. Earl Simmons was born on December 18, 1970, in Mount Vernon, New York. He was the son of 19-year-old Arnett Simmons and 18-year-old Joe Barker. Simmons was the middle child of the family. His mother had given birth to a daughter, Bonita, 2 years prior, and later gave birth to a second daughter, Shayla, and 2 stillborn sons. His father, Barker, painted watercolor paintings of street scenes to sell at local fairs, having moved to Philadelphia to fulfill his career. In his childhood years, Simmons first suffered from physical violence at the hands of his mother and was diagnosed with bronchial asthma. He was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. He disassociated himself from the spirituality after he was injured in an accident by a driver. At the age of 5, his mother sent him to live with relatives in Yonkers School Street housing apartments. After suffering from his mother's abuse, he was expelled from a middle school at the age of 10, having been sent to a group home. He then returned to Yonkers at age 15, sleeping in empty storage bins and befriending stray dogs. Due to poor grades at Yonkers Middle High School, Simmons was unable to finish his track and field team schedule. Broke, he robbed several students to find food and clothing for himself, as well as a leather collar and harness for his pet dog. He then began carjacking. His career began in 1985, when he beatboxed for a local rapper named Ready Ron. They would do small shows together where Ron would perform as a rapper, and DMX would beatbox and provide ad-libs. After some time, he realized Ron was becoming more prominent on the scene, so he decided to start rapping himself under the name, DMX. Inspired by the Oberheim DMX drum machine, he made it an initialism for Divine Master of the Unknown, and later, Darkman X. After serving a 2-year prison sentence, he began writing his own lyrics and performing at the local recreation center for younger children. In 1988, while in prison for carjacking, he began dedicating more of his free time to writing lyrics and battling other inmates. During this time, he had created a style called Spellbound, where he spelled each word out letter by letter. He and future rival, K Solo, engaged in battles. The initial Ruff Ryders group started with a preteen Jadakiss, Swizz Beatz as a child, and DMX. In 1988, Irv Gotti was roommates with producer Chad Elliott, who later introduced him in the Slobum housing projects in Yonkers to DMX and brothers Joaquin, Wah, and Darren, D. Dean, who had mentioned they were creating a company called Ruff Ryders together. Gotti convinced Wah to buy him a drum machine to produce records for DMX. Elliott and Gotti produced a beat in 1989 called Born Loser, which became one of DMX's first music demos. He later made an appearance on the Stretch Armstrong and Bobbito show in January 1991, where he provided a freestyle. The source praised DMX in its unsigned hype column that highlighted unsigned hip-hop artists. In 1991, DMX signed a management deal with the then-unknown record label Ruff Ryders Entertainment. Later that year, Columbia Records signed DMX to its subsidiary labels Chaos Records and Roughhouse Records, which released his major debut single, Born Loser, in 1993. Failing to meet commercial projections and not reaching any music charts, he was then terminated from his contract with Roughhouse and became an independent artist. In January 1994, Death Row Records attempted to sign the rapper in a joint venture with Ruff Ryders, although this never materialized. After 2 years of struggling in the industry, his friend and associate, Irv Gotti, became the president of A&R at Def Jam Recordings. After showcasing for then-President Lyor Cohen, DMX was signed to Def Jam Recordings in May 1997. DMX recorded tracks from April 1997 to January 1998 for his debut album. During this time, his guest appearances on Mesa's singles, 24 Hours to Live, and Take What's Yours, the Lox's single, Money, Power and Respect, and Def Jam label mate LL Cool J's single, 4, 3, 2, 1 Inch created a strong buzz for his upcoming album. In February 1998, he released his debut major label single, Get At Me Dog, on Def Jam Recordings. The single received an RIAA certification of gold. His first major label album It's Dark and Hell Is Hot, which included the single, Ruff Ryders Anthem, was then released in May 1998. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 chart in the US and sold over 6 million copies. In December 1998, he released his album Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. It debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200 and went multi-platinum. DMX became the only rapper alive to have his first 2 consecutive number 1 Billboard 200 albums within a 1-year period, 7 months by calculation, and the first since Tupac Shakur. DMX's record would later be surpassed 2 different times in 2020 by Youngboy Never Broke Again, who made the number 1 position with 2 albums in 6 months. A month down by proxy, making it the fastest, and also had 3 number 1 albums in 10 months between 2019 and 2020, also beating another Billboard record by DMX involving a quantity of number 1 rap albums within a year. He released his 3rd album, And Then There Was X, on December 21, 1999. It was his 3rd album to debut at number 1 on the Billboard 200. Its most popular single, Party Up, Up in Here, became his first top 10 hit on the R&B charts, and was nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Rap Solo Performance at the 2001 Grammy Awards. The album was certified 6 times platinum, and was also nominated for Best Rap Album at the 2001 Grammy Awards. In 2000, DMX also made a cameo appearance in the Sum 41 music video for Makes No Difference. In late 2000, he joined other hip-hop and nu metal artists on the Anger Management Tour. Appearing alongside Limp Bizkit, Godsmack and Sinistar for the second half of the tour from November 24 to December 19, 2000. After improving his legal situation, DMX returned to the studio to complete his 4th album, The Great Depression. With its release on October 23, 2001, it was his 4th album to debut at number 1 on the Billboard 200, featuring the singles, Who We Be, We Right Here, and I Miss You. Despite the album's triple platinum certification, its commercial and critical success was lower than his previous album. His 5th album, Grand Champ, released in September 2003, once again debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, becoming his final album in his lifetime to do so. It sold over 4 million in the US, including the singles, Where the Hood At, and Get It on the Floor. After its release, he informed the public that he planned to retire, intending for Grand Champ to be his final album. After conflict with Def Jam, DMX signed to Columbia Records, Def Jam's former parent company, in January 2006, returning to the label since 1992. He recorded his 6th album, Year of the Dog, again, while switching between the 2 labels, which caused numerous delays. It was released on August 1, 2006, and debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200. He released 2 more singles, Lord Give Me a Sign, and We In Here. The album received mixed reviews from critics. On June 12, 2007, Def Jam released his greatest hits album, The Definition of X, The Pick of the Litter. In 2009, DMX claimed he would pursue preaching in Jersey City, New Jersey as well as continue to produce music. He completed a gospel music album prior to his incarceration. According to MTV, he had semi-retired to study the Bible in an effort to give messages behind the pulpit. Def Jam released another compilation album in 2010 titled The Best of DMX, which features hit singles including Where the Hood At and X Gone, Give It to Ya. On October 11, 2011, DMX performed at the 2011 BET Hip Hop Awards. He stated that he has been working non-stop, every day, on his seventh album, which was titled Undisputed. A video for a new track titled Last Hope was released via the internet on September 24, 2011, and was later included on The Way, an EP released digitally on May 5, 2012. In late February 2012, 7 Arts Pictures acquired the catalog of DMX's music and signed DMX to a 2-album deal. During a performance at New York's Santos Party House on December 25, 2011, DMX stated that the new album would be titled Undisputed and would be released on March 26, 2012. After numerous delays, the album was eventually released on September 11, 2012, and featured production from Swizz Beatz and J.R. Rodham with a guest appearance by MGK. In 2013, DMX announced he had begun working on his 8th studio album. He collaborated with producers Swizz Beatz and Dame Grease. In December, after regaining his passport, he embarked on a world tour with performances in Bulgaria and Kosovo. On January 7, 2015, 7 Arts Music announced that DMX would be releasing Redemption of the Beast the following week. However, close personal friend and recurring collaborator producer, rapper, entrepreneur Swizz Beatz and DMX's management confirmed that this was false. On January 13, 2015, 7 Arts Music released Redemption of the Beast, without acquiring a legal artist contract. On January 15, 2015, it was announced by DMX's brother, manager Montana, that DMX was no longer signed to 7 Arts Music and that they would be taking legal action against 7 Arts Music for the unauthorized release of Redemption of the Beast. Longtime collaborator Swizz Beatz stated that 2 of the collaborators on the album would be Kanye West and Dr. Dre. His 2003 song, X Gone, Give It to Ya, was featured in the 2016 film Deadpool and in its trailers. On June 28, 2016, DMX released a new song titled Blood Red and produced by Divine Bars. On January 11, 2017, DMX released a new song produced by Swizz Beatz titled Bane Is Back. On September 20, 2019, DMX signed a new record deal with Def Jam Recordings, reuniting with the label for the first time since his 2003 album Grand Champ. He joined fellow label mate, LL Cool J, in the reunion with the label. DMX's 8th and posthumous studio album, Exodus, was released through Def Jam on May 28, 2021. DMX was a born-again Christian, and stated that he read the Bible every day. While in jail, DMX stated that he had a purpose for being there. I came here to meet somebody. Don't know who it was, but I'll know when I see him. And I came here to give him a message. And that message is Jesus loves them. DMX was a transitional deacon and aspired to become ordained as a pastor, stating that he received this call in 2009. In 2016, he gave a sermon at a church in Phoenix, Arizona. On January 10, 2026, Foster Memorial AIM Zion Church posthumously ordained DMX as a minister. DMX was the father of 15 children from 9 different women. He married his childhood friend Earl Simmons in 1999. They had 4 children together: Xavier, born 1992, Tacoma, born 1999, Sean, born 2002, and Praise Mary Ella, born 2005. In July 2010, after his first of 3 incarcerations that year, Tashira announced their separation. They divorced in 2014 and remained friends, although in 2016, Tashira accused DMX of missing his $10,000 per month child support payment. DMX had a daughter, Sasha, born 2002, with Patricia Trejo. In 2012, Trejo sued DMX for $1 million in unpaid child support. The case was settled in 2013. DMX and Monique Wayne, a Maryland resident, fought over her claim that he was the father of her son born in 2004. She sued him for defamation and for child support. After genetic testing proved that DMX was the father, in January 2008, DMX was ordered to pay Wayne $1.5 million, but a judge vacated the judgment in May 2008. DMX also fathered a son and a daughter with Yadira Borrego. The son was 11 years old at the time of DMX's death, while the daughter's age was not known by the general public. He fathered another child with his fiancée Desiree Lindstrom on August 16, 2016. DMX's final 2 children, twin boys, were born on December 5, 2019. Their mother is Pebbles Janelle. DMX did not have a will. As a result, legal battles ensued in probate courts following his death. DMX filed for bankruptcy 3 times. His first filing was on July 30, 2013, citing his child support obligations as his priority claim. The filing was challenged by the United States Trustee Program and was dismissed by the U.S. Bankruptcy Court in Manhattan on November 11, 2013. During the 1990s, DMX formed a close bond with fellow up-and-coming rappers Jay-Z and Ja Rule. The three collaborated many times and formed a group known as Murder Inc. The group was short-lived due to internal issues between DMX and Jay-Z. After the breakup of the group, DMX disparaged Ja Rule, accusing him of being a copycat and drawing comparisons between himself and what he saw as Ja Rule stealing his signature, gruff style of delivery. DMX would then release his second album Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, which contained the diss track, We Don't Give a Fuck, that was directed towards Ja Rule and produced by Irv Gotti. Ja Rule would then respond in the song, We Different, from the compilation album Irv Gotti Presents, The Murderers. DMX would also go on to throw shots at Ja Rule in his song, Do You?, from Funkmaster Flex's mixtape The Mixtape, Volume 4. In 2002, DMX released his diss track, They Want War, on DJ K Slay's mixtape Street Sweepers Presents The Regulator Part 5, the final chapter. Ja Rule never responded directly, but he went on to diss DMX in his songs, Fuck With Us, and Connected, from his album The Last Temptation. The next year DMX would take shots at Ja Rule in the song, Go to Sleep, with Eminem and Obi Trice from the Cradle to the Grave soundtrack. DMX would also release another diss track titled, Ruled Out, and he would also diss Ja Rule again in his song, Where the Hood At. Ja Rule then dissed DMX in Cadillac Taw's song, Duck, and his own songs, Clap Back, and Blood in My Eye, from his album of the same name. However, as time passed and the feud faded into obscurity, DMX said that he wanted to officially bring it to an end when he was released from prison in 2005. Gotti came to me in jail and said, I want to make peace with you and him. I was like, alright Gotti, let's do it. Despite this, DMX and Ja Rule did not officially end their feud until 2009, at VH1's Hip Hop Honors. When DMX partnered with Jay-Z and Ja Rule in Murder Inc., there was a feud between the two, which also contributed to the failure of the group and working together. According to reports, the feud started in the early 1990s after a rap battle between the two, which led to DMX's disdain for Jay-Z. Prior to DMX's death, the feud, although it had fizzled out over the years, was revived when DMX said in an Instagram video that he wanted to rap battle Jay-Z on verses. DMX was in jail more than 30 times throughout his lifetime. For various offenses, including criminal possession of a weapon, robbery, assault, carjacking, animal cruelty, reckless driving, driving under the influence, unlicensed driving, medicine possession, probation violation, failure to pay child support, pretending to be a federal agent, and tax evasion. DMX was first sent to prison in 1986 after stealing a dog from a junkyard. He served a few months in the juvenile unit of Woodfield Prison in Valhalla, New York. Later that year, he was sentenced to 2 years for another crime and sent to Industry Institution in upstate New York. However, in December 1986, just a few days after starting his sentence, he and his cellmate successfully escaped the prison and DMX returned home until his mother forced him to turn himself in and finish his sentence, which he did at the McCormick Secure Center, in Brooktondale, New York. Simmons was sent to prison again in 1988 for carjacking, and was later moved to a higher security prison after attempting to extort a fellow inmate for drugs. He was released in the summer of 1988. When officers of the Fort Lee Police Department executed a search of his home in 1999, DMX promptly surrendered himself on weapons possession charges. DMX faced a 1999 animal cruelty charge in Teaneck, New Jersey, after a dozen pit bulls were found at his home there. The charge was dismissed after the performer agreed to accept responsibility and record public service announcements for an animal rights group. In 2000, DMX served a 15-day jail sentence for possession of cannabis. DMX served another jail sentence in 2001 for driving without a license and possession of cannabis. His appeal to reduce the sentence was denied. Rather, he was charged with assault for throwing objects at prison guards. In January 2002, DMX pleaded guilty in New Jersey to 13 counts of animal cruelty, 2 counts of maintaining a nuisance, and 1 count each of disorderly conduct and possession of drug paraphernalia. He eventually plea bargained down to fines, probation, and community service and starred in public service announcements against the dangers of guns and animal beep. In June 2004, DMX was arrested at the John F. Kennedy International Airport on charges of cocaine possession, criminal impersonation, criminal possession of a weapon, criminal mischief, menacing, and driving under the influence of medicines or alcohol, while claiming to be a federal agent and attempting to carjack a vehicle. He was given a conditional discharge on December 8, 2004, but pleaded guilty on October 25, 2005, to violating parole. On November 18, 2005, DMX was sentenced to 70 days in jail at Rikers Island for violating parole. The lateness charge added a 10-day extension to the original 60-day sentence. DMX was released early, for good behavior, on December 30, 2005. In 2007, DMX's home in Arizona was raided on reports of animal cruelty to his 12 pit bulls on the property. Simmons maintained that any neglect was the result of a caretaker who was not taking proper supervision of the dogs. On May 9, 2008, DMX was arrested on medicine and animal cruelty charges after attempting to barricade himself inside his home in Cave Creek, Arizona. DMX pleaded guilty to charges of medicine possession, theft, and animal cruelty stemming from an August 2007 medicine raid as well as the May 2008 arrest. At a hearing on December 30, 2008, he was sentenced to 90 days in jail on January 31, 2009. On May 22, 2009, DMX entered a plea agreement, change of plea, and pleaded guilty to attempted aggravated assault in jail. After serving 4 out of 6 months for violating medicine probation, DMX was released from jail on July 6, 2010. That day, a television pilot was filmed to portray his road to recovery. However, DMX was arrested 3 weeks later and the pilot did not evolve into a series. On July 27, 2010, DMX turned himself in to Los Angeles Metropolitan Court for a reckless driving charge he received in 2002. He was sentenced to serve 90 days in jail. On November 19, 2010, DMX was arrested in Maricopa County, Arizona, on charges of violating probation for a February 24, 2009, aggravated assault on an officer while he was incarcerated. On December 20, 2010, DMX was moved to the mental health unit of the Arizona Alhambra State Prison, and released on July 18, 2011. On August 24, 2011, DMX was arrested for the 10th time in Maricopa County, this time for speeding, recorded at 102 miles per hour, 164 kilometers per hour, in a 65 mile per hour, 105 kilometers per hour zone, reckless driving, and driving with a suspended license. While DMX admitted to speeding, he claimed he was driving 85 miles per hour, 137 kilometers per hour. On February 13, 2013, DMX was arrested in Spartanburg, South Carolina, for driving without a driver's license. On July 26, 2013, DMX was arrested again in Greenville County, South Carolina, and charged with driving under the influence of alcohol as well as driving without a license. On August 20, 2013, DMX was arrested again in Greer, South Carolina, during a traffic stop after a car he was a passenger in made an improper U-turn. He was arrested due to an outstanding warrant for driving under suspension. 4 packages of cannabis were also found in the vehicle, and he along with the driver were cited for them. On November 4, 2013, DMX was again arrested by the Greenville-Spartanburg International Airport Police near Greer, South Carolina, after police, who were familiar with his prior arrests, noticed DMX behind the wheel of a vehicle at the terminal. DMX was booked on charges of driving with a suspended license, having an uninsured vehicle, and driving an unlicensed vehicle. He was subsequently released after spending 3 hours in jail. On April 5, 2015, a man accused DMX of robbing him. On June 26, 2015, DMX was arrested in New York and charged in Newark, New Jersey, with robbery and failure to pay child support. On July 14, 2015, DMX was sentenced to 6 months in jail for failure to pay $400,000 in child support. In December 14, 2015, an arrest warrant was issued for DMX after he missed a court hearing to address child support issues with his ex-wife Earl Simmons and their 4 children. In July 2017, DMX was charged with 14 federal counts of tax fraud. Federal prosecutors charged him with failing to file income tax returns from 2010 to 2015, a period when he earned at least $2.3 million. DMX pleaded guilty to a single count of tax fraud in November 2017. DMX was originally free pending sentencing but was remanded to jail in January 2018 after leaving a drug treatment program ordered by the court and relapsing with rock and oxycodone. In March 2018, Judge Jed S. Rakoff sentenced DMX to 1 year in prison followed by 3 years of supervised release. The court also ordered DMX to pay $2.29 million in restitution to the government. He was released from prison on January 25, 2019. Simmons claimed he became addicted to rock when he was 14 years old, after Reddy Ron tricked him into smoking a joint laced with the medicine. Reddy Ron denied this claim in a social media post after Simmons' death. Simmons entered medicine rehabilitation several times including in 2002, 2017, and 2019, when he cancelled concerts. On February 10, 2016, Simmons was found unresponsive in a parking lot at a Ramada Inn in Yonkers, New York. He was resuscitated by first responders and intravenously given Narcan, an opioid reversal medicine. He responded quickly and became semi-conscious. Simmons was subsequently rushed to the hospital. A witness said he ingested a powdered substance before collapsing, but police found no illegal substances on the property. Simmons stated that it was from an asthma attack. On April 2, 2021, at approximately 11 p.m., Simmons was rushed to White Plains Hospital, where he was reported to be in critical condition following a heart attack at his home possibly resulting from medicine overdose. Simmons suffered cerebral hypoxia as paramedics attempted to resuscitate him for 30 minutes. The next day, his attorney Marie Richmond confirmed Simmons was on life support. Simmons' former manager, Nakia Walker, said he was in a vegetative state, with lung and brain failure and no current brain activity. His manager, SRC and Loud Records founder Steve Rifkind, stated Simmons was comatose and that he was set to undergo tests to determine his brain's functionality and his family will determine what's best from there. On the morning of April 9, 2021, Simmons lost functionality in multiple essential organs, reportedly his liver, kidneys, and lungs, and was pronounced dead shortly after, at age 50. It was revealed on July 8 by the Westchester County Medical Examiner's Office that Simmons' official cause of death was a heart attack. Various celebrities paid tribute through outlets like social media including former NFL player Torrey Smith, LeBron James, Shaquille O'Neal, Eminem, Gabrielle Union, who co-starred with DMX in the 2003 film Cradle to the Grave, along with Jet Li, who also paid tribute, Backstreet Boys member AJ McLean, Wyclef Jean, Swizz Beatz, who DMX collaborated with including on the hit single, Rough Riders Anthem. Eve and Missy Elliott. Other tributers included Kelly Rowland, Chris Brown, Lil Durk, Big Sean, Polo G, Metro Boomin, The Weeknd, T.I. Jim Jones, Busta Rhymes, Viola Davis, Mary J. Blige, Al Sharpton, Angie Martinez, Ciara, Jennifer Love Hewitt, and various others. A celebration of life took place on April 24, 2021, led by Kanye West's Sunday Service Choir. They performed several songs in honor of DMX. The memorial took place at Barclays Center in Brooklyn with a limited capacity of 1,900. It was live-streamed on DMX's YouTube and Instagram accounts. On the way to Barclays, DMX's casket was carried by a black monster truck with "Long Live DMX" painted on the side. A procession of hundreds of motorcyclists, in homage to the hip-hop collective Rough Riders, rode from DMX's birthplace of Yonkers, New York to Barclays Center. In between performances, people gave speeches including Eve, Nas, Swizz Beatz and Rough Riders founders Joaquin, Wah, Dean and Darren, Dean. DMX's funeral, DMX's homegoing celebration, took place in Brooklyn at the Christian Cultural Center on April 25, 2021. It was live-streamed on the BET Network and its YouTube channel. It lasted around 5 hours to a limited capacity of 2,000 people. DMX's casket was in the color red and featured the word, "Faith," in large printing. It was featured in the front of the room. People who were in attendance included Nas, Lil Kim, Alicia Keys and Swizz Beatz as well as the pastor of the church, Reverend A.R. Bernard. Louis Farrakhan, a leader of the Nation of Islam, joined the service via Zoom. With the exception of Alicia Keys, Nas and Lil Kim, they all gave speeches. DMX's former wife, Tashira Simmons and Rough Riders founders Wah and D also gave a speech. There was some controversial testimonies like former Def Jam chief Lyor Cohen, when his video featured an overhead view of a beach and explained how Earl Simmons was a wonderful man while DMX was a gremlin. Additionally, Def Jam co-founder Russell Simmons compared his own issues with drug abuse to DMX via video. The homegoing ended with DMX's obituary read on stage and a virtual performance from Faith Evans. At the funeral, New York City community leader and peacemaker Erica Ford presented DMX's family several citations and proclamations from the New York Governor's and Senate's office, including a proclamation from the New York State Senate declaring December 18, DMX's birthday, Earl DMX Simmons Day. Additional citations came from Gov. Andrew Cuomo and Mayor Mike Spano of Yonkers, the hometown of DMX. Cuomo had the flag flying over the state capitol on the day of DMX's death presented to his family. On June 28, 2021, his music was represented by former Def Jam label mate Method Man, close friend Swizz Beatz, Busta Rhymes and actor Michael K. Williams, who himself would pass away 5 months later, at the BET Awards 2021. DMX had a significant impact on hip-hop music and is considered a legend in the genre. He's credited for having defined 2000s rap and for being among the most prolific rappers of his era. He broke and set numerous records. His early work was vastly different from most mainstream hip-hop music at the time. While Puff Daddy and other artists of the Bad Boy Records label were at the height of popularity, characterized by their big-budget videos, lavish party-throwing, and dance-floor-ready music, DMX achieved success with a more dark, aggressive, rugged, less marketable style. According to an Apple Music radio host, it was a complete 180. Puff was controlling the clubs, you were watching Bad Boy Records pop bottles, wear Rolexes, Jesus pieces, Coogie sweaters. Then here comes this crazy energetic figure from Yonkers with the Timbs and the bandanas, running around with pit bulls, giving a perspective on the streets that a lot of people weren't familiar with and taking command of what hip-hop didn't look like. DMX's commercially successful violent lyricism helped popularize the horrorcore genre.